Imagine trying to remember the name of someone you know super well, or a word you just came across a few minutes ago, and suddenly, it feels like that info is totally locked inside your head. This isn't just regular forgetting, it's a straight-up struggle happening deep in your brain. You're so sure you know the answer, but your tongue just cannot find the words. Scientists call this the tip of the tongue phenomenon, and it's something almost everyone has gone through. You're totally sure the word is right there in your memory, like you can actually see it right in front of you, but it just slips away every time you try to grab it. This whole contradiction is so interesting and makes you wonder how our brains really work. The moment that word retrieval fails, it's not just the speech areas of your brain taking a break. Instead, another part called the anterior cingulate cortex kicks into gear, which is responsible for spotting errors and conflicts. This specific area is what generates that totally annoying and frustrating feeling you get. The cool thing is, your brain isn't actually failing in this moment, it's actually doing something pretty awesome. That feeling that you're just about to remember the word is what pushes you to try harder and not give up. This means the tip of the tongue phenomenon is actually a way to motivate your memory to keep on searching. But what actually determines if you'll fall into this trap or not? There are so many factors, like the type of word, your past experiences, the environment around you, and even stress. So let's dive deep into the details of what's really happening inside your brain and how you can finally get that locked-up word out. First, you should know that the brain stores language in multiple layers. The first layer is all about the meaning and connections, while the last layer is focused on the actual sound of the word itself. For example, when you want to say the word apple, your brain retrieves its shape first, and then finally its sound. The tip of the tongue phenomenon usually happens in that final layer, the sound layer. You totally know the meaning, and you might even know the first letter or how many syllables the word has, but you just can't put the whole sound together. It's a lot like losing your key while you're standing right there looking at the door from the outside. The type of word also affects how likely this is to happen. Unique names, words you rarely use, and abstract terms that are hard to visualize are all much more likely to get stuck on the tip of your tongue. For instance, a specific scientist's name might just suddenly vanish. If you speak more than one language, the chance of experiencing tip of the tongue actually goes up quite a bit. That's because your brain has multiple options for the same meaning, so a word from another language might block the path of the word you're searching for. It's basically like a traffic jam in your memory network. If you learned your second language before the age of 5, this congestion happens way less often. Studies have shown that people who learn a second language later in life deal with getting tongue-tied more than others. This is because those neural pathways become much more deeply rooted during early childhood. And what makes the problem even worse is stress and tension. In a study done on students during exams, they complained about the tip of the tongue phenomenon way more than during their break times. This is because stress actually holds back certain memory areas and makes reaching for those words a lot harder. Also, getting older increases how often this happens. As we age, there's a slight decline in the speech areas of the brain, or information just piles up so much that searching through it all takes a bit longer. Because of that, older folks feel the tip of the tongue phenomenon more than younger people do. But don't worry, words aren't permanently erased from your memory. It just becomes temporarily tough to reach them. That annoying feeling you get is actually proof that the word is still in there somewhere, kind of like a book sitting on a high shelf that you just can't quite reach. There's a smart way to get that word off the tip of your tongue, and that's by using cues. For example, try to remember anything related to that word, like a situation that happened when you heard it, or a color, or even a smell. These cues activate the nearby neural pathways. For example, if you want to remember the name of the ancient city of Babylon, think about the Hanging Gardens or King Nebuchadnezzar. This info linked to the name can trigger your memory enough to bring back the sound you're looking for. It's a lot like pulling a single thread from a tangled scarf. You can also quickly run through the alphabet in your head. Just hearing the first letter of the word in your imagination might activate the right neural node. Sometimes, the second or third letter is the actual key. Try quietly saying A, B, C, D to yourself. These strategies work because the brain searches through a process called grouping. It doesn't just look through every word randomly. Instead, it activates a group of cells linked to that specific topic. So if you mention fruit, your brain automatically powers up apple, banana, orange. If the word stays stuck, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Forcing it just increases stress and makes the problem worse. Instead, go do something else for a few minutes. Then, the word might just pop into your head out of nowhere because your brain actually keeps working on it in the background. This phenomenon reminds us of the greatness of the human brain's design. The complexity that makes us deal with the tip of the tongue is the exact same complexity that lets us remember thousands of words every day with amazing speed. So don't look at this situation as a failure. It's actually proof of how powerful your storage system really is. Recent research in psycholinguistics uses MRI scans to monitor the brain right at the moment the tip of the tongue phenomenon happens. They found that working memory areas light up like crazy, while the speech production areas are pretty much on standby. This is physical proof of exactly what you're feeling. It's actually super interesting that some medications affecting neurotransmitters, like those for epilepsy or anxiety, can make this happen more often. The chemical balance in your brain is incredibly delicate, so even a tiny shift can impact how fast you can pull those words out of your memory. People with injuries to the left temporal lobe, particularly Wernicke's area, report frequent episodes of the tip of the tongue phenomenon. This region is responsible for understanding language and linking meanings to sounds. Therefore, it plays a pivotal role in this process. Good sleep also boosts your brain's ability to recall words. During deep sleep, the brain reorganizes info and strengthens those weak connections. So if you're dealing with that tip of the tongue feeling a lot, you might want to check your sleep habits first. Slow down a bit, because talking too fast can actually trip you up. Speaking a little more slowly gives your brain that extra time to find the next word. This is super helpful, especially when you're learning a new language or speaking in front of a crowd. Taking your time really gives your memory a chance to get ready. For example, young kids who are still building their vocabulary experience tip of the tongue moments way less than adults do. That is because they have fewer words stored, so the search is much faster. But as you get older and soak up more knowledge, the library gets way bigger and becomes harder to index quickly. There is a theory that the tip of the tongue phenomenon happens when two words that sound similar start competing with each other. Your brain temporarily picks the wrong word, which actually blocks the right one from coming out. To fix this, you just have to ignore that intruder word and focus on the meaning instead. Researchers have noticed that trying to remember something totally unrelated can actually help sometimes. For example, try to remember what you had for breakfast today or the color of your bedroom wall. This simple reset for your memory can clear up that temporary block. If the word stays hidden for more than a minute, it is best to just look it up in a dictionary or online. Sticking too hard to remembering it on your own could turn it into a false memory, where you remember something similar but not quite right. Focusing on a quick solution is way better than getting stuck on the mistake. In the end, this phenomenon is super normal and happens to more than 90% of people at least once a week. So do not feel embarrassed when it happens to you. It is definitely not a sign of low intelligence or your mental abilities slipping. It is just a part of how the brain's complex work happens. So whenever you feel like a word is stuck on the tip of your tongue, just remember that your brain is working really hard to help you out. Use gestures, take a deep breath, or just let it go for a bit. You will find that the word comes back to you when you least expect it, reminding you just how amazing that tool between your ears really is.